Happy Friday, Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel coming at you. Tennessee football is having their big 865 live event this recruiting weekend. It's their annual Memorial Day weekend event, and the lineup for it is absolutely loaded. It got huge news yesterday. I released the video yesterday, and I'll link it at the end of this as well if you want to take a look or listen to that if you have not already. But David Sanders Jr., offensive lineman, Charlotte, North Carolina, will be here for his third unofficial visit so far to Knoxville. And I think this is going to be huge for Tennessee. It's been said, I've read from different analysts, different things, but one of them I saw was saying that maybe it's Ohio State and Tennessee to top right now. Georgia close by, Clemson still in it as well. But this was from it's not quote for quote, but it was from Anna Adams, 24/7 Sports, said that she didn't know if Clemson had enough to get through the finish line, but there definitely have been a factor with him. She says not to discount Georgia, but right now she feels it's Ohio State and Tennessee to top. Now there's a long way to go in that recruitment, and so nothing is set in stone. Nothing is done by any means in it. But the fact that Sanders is coming back to Knoxville again, it's going to be a star-studded weekend in Knoxville. You're going to have George McIntyre there. You know he is recruiting him as well. And my thought with David Sanders is, especially based on what Tennessee's losing on the offensive line after this year, you're losing Cooper Mays, Spraggins, Lampley, Dane Davis, John Campbell. Just that's the names off the top of my head. Your only starter coming back will be Hurd at that point. So based on that, I really think David Sanders has the potential to be a day one starter in Knoxville. I'm sure the staff's not going to guarantee him anything, but if he lives up to the hype of being a top 5 recruit, you should be ready to go step on campus and make an immediate impact. I'm still a proponent of, if you're not ready to make an immediate impact, you're not a 5-star, in my opinion. A project is not a 5-star project. We're not looking at grand scheme. We're looking at, to me, recruiting and these rankings are based on where you're at now, not what your potential is, because you never know with potential. But David Sanders is the headliner this weekend. Now, I'm not including George McIntyre in that headliner because he's committed. He's in the boat. Yes, it's big getting him back on campus to recruit. But some of the visitors coming in for this weekend, they have multiple 5-stars, and they have visitors amongst 25, 26, and 27. So David Sanders comes in. Jamie French, I talked a little bit about that in the David Sanders video yesterday. Again, I'll link that at the end of this as well if you want to listen to it. He was committed to Alabama at one point. He decommitted, of course. The crystal ball, according to 24/7 Sports, points to Ohio State, but it says LSU, Miami, and Texas are set to host him on official visits, and apparently Tennessee as well. This one has changed right here. They have listed, I'm reading an article from 24/7 Sports and Ryan Callahan listing them, but Isaiah Gibson, he's a USC commitment, Warner Robins, Georgia. I just saw this morning Anna Adams posted that Gibson will now not be making the trip, but he has scheduled an official visit to Tennessee. I think it's the weekend of June the 14th. So that is a big one. That's the visit that ultimately matters. Right there is the official visit. These unofficials are great. They're relationship builders. Odds are, unless they're just some dude that they've really been on, and this guy's been to campus a ton of times, you're probably not going to get any commitments this weekend. That's not a bad thing. It's no indictment on this staff or anything like that. It's just, it's a kind of a get to know you. It's a relationship builder. It's supposed to be a laid back, fun weekend. I think a lot of things goes on down there. You know, if you get any commitments, great. You hope you do. Last year, they got Peyton Lewis, the running back out of Virginia, who I think is going to be a nice player for Tennessee. From what I'm reading, I wouldn't expect any this weekend, even though it's never out of the realm of possibility that some dude gets caught up in the moment and recruits. We've seen in the past guys commit basically everywhere they go. So, who's to say that they won't? There's a couple interesting developments on here, and we'll talk about two of these visitors. So Gibson not coming this weekend, according to Anna Adams, but will be here middle of June, official visits. That's a big one for him. If he's taking visits, I don't think you're firmly committed. That's just my opinion on it there. And maybe, a long way from home. obviously Georgia. Jared Smith, 5-star edge out of Alabaster, Alabama. So this is said he visited Tennessee twice in 2022. Made two more trips to Knoxville last year. He was at the Texas A&M game last year, and then he is set to return official visit June 14th as well. So that's big that they're getting him on campus again this weekend. And then, of course, he starts his officials, it looks like, next weekend at South Carolina, Georgia, Florida State, USC in the mix there as well. I don't see anything about Alabama or Auburn, but I'm thinking, if I'm not, I could be mistaken on this, and any of you can feel free to correct me here. I was thinking I seen there's no like cap on official visits. Now, used to you could take 5. I'm thinking I saw that there's no cap with that. If I'm wrong, please correct me on that one. I have no problem being corrected when I'm wrong. Daryl Johnson, 5-star. He's an Alabama commitment. I kind of wonder with William Inge if he made any kind of contact with Johnson while he was a part of Alabama's coaching staff. He wasn't there long, but he will be in Knoxville this weekend. Tennessee does need linebackers, in my opinion. They don't have any linebacker commitments right now. You're going to lose Keenan Lee after this year, but you've got to continue adding to that room. They have some nice linebackers in that room. You got to keep adding talent to that room, though. Can they make a difference? Obviously, they're not letting off the gas here. They're trying to get him in. So the fact you're getting him in this weekend's big. Of course, George McIntyre's in town. Lagonza Hayward, safety out of Georgia, will be here. I think that's one that, Tennessee is a very high contender for him. I think Tennessee's going to have a good shot at him. Not saying they get him, but they'll definitely have a good shot at him. They're scheduled to host him on an official next month. Isaiah Campbell. This is one I talked about interesting. So he has been committed to Clemson since January. And if you guys know anything, I'm sure most of you do. So I'm not going to insult your intelligence on that one by anything. Most of you that follow college football and recruiting know when a guy commits to Clemson, normally they don't take visits. So this is pretty interesting, the fact that he is scheduled to make that trip to Knoxville this weekend. I think if you're taking visits as a Clemson commit, you may not be a Clemson commit much longer. I'm not saying Tennessee gets him by any means, but he's top 50 prospect out of Durham, North Carolina. And I think this is a guy that Tennessee's going to make a push for. 6'4", 260. That's a good sized dude. And Rodney Garner taking over in that one. That's just where it's going. But I think it's a pretty big development if he does indeed make it to campus, because Dabo's going to be upset about it. And, I keep talking about it on here. I don't have a problem with Clemson, to be honest with you. I live in the upstate. I don't have a problem with Clemson at all. But Dabo's going to have to adjust, or Dabo's getting ready to get left. Dabo's going to be out looking for a job for too long if he does not adjust. I'm just telling you, that's the way it is right now. He's not adjusting to NIL. He's not adjusting to the portal. If a guy commits early and you're trying to get him not to take visits, it's not come back on him a lot. But at some point, his philosophy is getting ready to leave him in the dust. It's going to happen. And I'm really shocked as a Clemson AD would not be like, hey, we got to get on board with this. Our program it's slowly and slowly, gradually declining each season. And, I know this is not a Clemson channel, but we do recruit against Clemson a lot. I think it is relevant what's happening with him. Clemson benefited from Tennessee's incompetence back in the 2010. Really goes back to Taj Boyd when Lane Kiffin did not accept Taj Boyd for whatever insane reason that was. And that kind of jump-started things. And there were numerous times over the years Clemson, I think, benefited from Tennessee's incompetence. Hopefully Tennessee is now starting to benefit from what's becoming Clemson's incompetence here as well. Other visitors, Todd Robinson, running back out of Georgia. Tennessee has Justin Baker in the fold. I've talked about this. I wonder if they want to get a couple, because I think it's very possible. If Dylan Sampson has a good year like I expect he will, he could be off to the NFL like Jalen Wright did last year. Nick Moore out of Jefferson County will be in town. Saw they added, I hope I pronounced this right, Onis Conanbani. He's out of my old neck of the woods, Columbia, South Carolina, Heathwood Hall Episcopal School. Bryce Jenkins, Washington, D.C. A running back they're recruiting out of Chattanooga, Shakai Mills Knight, moved from Montreal down to Chattanooga last year, 6'1", 217. So that's a big back there as well. So that's kind of, there's Timothy Merritt out of Birmingham, a big defensive back, 6'2", 180. Donovan Starr out of Brentwood. LeVar Arrington Jr., I thought this was an interesting one, 6'3", 215 out of California. If you remember the name LeVar Arrington, dude was a stud at Penn State, went to the Redskins, now Commanders. Darian Smith out of Washington, D.C., a defensive lineman. Talon Lee, I'm not going to name all these, but there's a lot of them. There's ones that stand out. 2026 wide receiver Tyreek King out of Knox Catholic. Zach Groves out of Cross Plains. Shavar Young out of Webb School. Dylan Lewis out of Georgia. Justin Baker. Joakim Dotson. Tyler Redmond. They've got a kicker, London Baronis. He is the son of Rob Baronis. Okay, I've wondered about that, actually. Star-studded lineup this weekend. This is a big one for Tennessee. So you got to build those relationships. You want to get these things built and build on what you've already got. Tennessee's currently sitting at, I think, number 13, according to 24/7 Sports. Let me see where that's at. That's where it was the last I saw. Oh, actually, they're at 14. So somebody's moved up over time. So Tennessee currently sits at 14. I don't think that's the expectation in the end. Will that be a bad class? No. But I think if you end up at 14, that means you've had a lot of misses like you did last year. They had a good class, don't get me wrong, last year. But there were a lot of guys that could have propelled that one up higher. How ambitious are they? Is this a case of, other schools are out recruiting Tennessee? Is NIL a factor? I don't know what the deal is. We're going to see, but Tennessee has got to close. David Sanders is priority number one, in my opinion. You need that offensive tackle. You want to supply George McIntyre, possibly Nico, Jake Merklinger, whomever. You want to supply them with the best line they can get. That's a pretty good start right there, along with other guys. So we'll see for the other guys that maybe get added to the mix. Sometimes those visits pop over the weekend. Obviously, cancellations happen as well. But it's a big recruiting weekend for Tennessee football, and we'll see how it goes in the grand scheme of closing off as we get closer to National Signing Day and with official visits starting to amp up next month. Just a little heads up. Be on the lookout today for something. I've been reading a little bit about, if you follow my channel and listen to it, you know what my hot topic has been on here. Obviously men's basketball. You know my hot topic. I've tried to put content out as much as possible on that. I have something ready to go today just in case there's news that breaks. I've seen some hints of some big news for Tennessee basketball breaking today. I don't know for sure on it, but Travis Branham of 24/7 Sports, he has alluded to possible big news for Tennessee basketball today. You can guess who it is if you followed my channel on here, as I've tried to be on that one. And let's just say when it drops, I've got a video ready to roll. And because I'll probably be out, but I'm going to try to get it uploaded. And be on the lookout for that. Hopefully some big news coming for Tennessee basketball today. Tonight, Tennessee, Mississippi State baseball. It's scheduled to go off around 7:30. That's going to depend on how the first game between South Carolina and Kentucky finishes. But I will be live at least for a little bit. We'll see what the turnout is on that as well tonight. But I hope you guys have an awesome Friday. It is the weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend. I'm sure a lot of you out there have long weekends. Enjoy your long weekend, guys. It's going to be a fun one. My name's Frank Rock. This is the House of Orange Sports channel. As always, last but not least, go Vols.